Fade in.
Our fans will be thrilled that Hayden Christensen will be returning in the role of Darth Vader. This will be the rematch of the century.
Blasphemer!
With the recent announcement that they've completed filming on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I thought I'd let you all know my thoughts on this so-called rematch of the century. I want to go through different scenarios to see if there's any way that they would be able to make this work, especially within the context of what we already know. In every scenario that I can think of, there is nothing to gain and everything to lose, especially for the fans due to the fact that they're going to end up destroying another character and more context or continuity from the original trilogy and prequel trilogy. The first point that I want to make is that before the announcement of this rematch, most fans thought that Vader and Obi-Wan only fought twice. Once on Mustafar with Obi-Wan winning, and once on the Death Star with Vader winning.
From a certain point of view.
It's like poetry, it's sort of they rhyme.
The Revenge of the Sith takes place 19 BBY, 19 years before A New Hope. The Obi-Wan series will take place 9 BBY, 9 years before A New Hope. Now, after Revenge of the Sith, Vader obviously never saw Obi-Wan die. But if we can take some context from the novel The Rise of Darth Vader, if Vader finds Jedi that survive Order 66, he wants to hunt them down.
The comlink chimed.
What is it, Commander Aparo?
Lord Vader, I've been informed of a discrepancy in the prisoner count. Allowing for the Jedi you killed on Mercana, 2 prisoners are unaccounted for.
The others who survived Order 66.
Shall I instruct Commander Salva to initiate a search?
Not this time, Commander. I will handle it myself.
But there is also a factor of how much the Jedi is interfering.
A split second later, Cash Garrulin's skiff engaged its hyperdrive and disappeared. Allowing the interceptor to power down, Vader gazed in defeat at the distant starfield. He had much to do to make himself whole once more. One of the V-Wing pilots hailed him. Escape vectors are being plotted, Lord Vader.
Delete the calculations, pilot. If the Jedi are so determined to disappear, then let them.
The only exception to that would have to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, because Obi-Wan was the one that put him in the suit, and he was the one that turned Padme against him. He hates Obi-Wan so much that if Vader explicitly knew that Obi-Wan was still alive, he would stop at nothing to kill him. But that's why Obi-Wan decided to take Luke to Tatooine, because it was isolated in the Outer Rim, it was controlled by the Hutts, and it wasn't of any interest to the Empire.
In any case, Tatooine wasn't a world where questions were asked. Residents wondered, and they gossiped and theorized, but they rarely inquired about the reasons that brought strangers to remote Tatooine. Coupled with the fact that the world was still largely under the sway of the Hutts, the prevailing frontier etiquette had made Tatooine a refuge for criminals, smugglers, and outlaws from star systems galaxy-wide.
Until Disney took it over and put an entire occupation there. Obi-Wan thought it would be the last place that Vader would want to go back to. That's why I thought Vader could never sense him. It was a place Vader would cut off all ties to.
Vader's heart pounded in his chest, and the respirator fed his heart's needs with rapid breaths. For his own health and sanity, he realized that he would have to avoid places that whipped his anger to such frenzy. The recognition that he would probably never be able to set foot on Naboo or Tatooine tore an anguished moan from him that toppled the rest of the plinths as if they were dominoes, leaving their crowning bronzium busts sliding and spinning across the polished, blood-flecked floor.
The perfect place for Obi-Wan to hide. Now, just for a little bit more context, Obi-Wan did think he killed Anakin on Mustafar, but after the realization that Vader was still alive,
he moved in a daze that had little to do with the glare or the heat. As impossible as it seemed, Anakin had survived Mustafar and had resumed the Sith title of Darth Vader. How could Obi-Wan have been so foolish to bring Luke here, of all worlds? Anakin's homeworld, the grave of his mother, the home of his only family members. Obi-Wan gripped the lightsaber he carried under his robe. Had he driven Anakin deeper into the dark side by abandoning him on Mustafar? Could he face Anakin again? Could he kill him this time?
It makes him even more cautious, and he doesn't want to reveal himself even more so.
From the far side of the street, he shadowed Owen and Beru as they moved from store to store, stocking up on staples. Should he warn them about Vader? Should he take Luke away from them and hide him on an even more remote world in the Outer Rim? His fear began to mount. His and Yoda's hopes for the future dashed.
So, let's say Obi-Wan and Vader cross blades again in the Obi-Wan series. It is completely pointless as there are zero stakes because they both need to survive. That's the main problem about this. There is nothing to gain and everything to lose by doing this. Whether or not it takes place on Tatooine makes no difference. Let's break it down a little bit. There's this line.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since...
Which could mean that he hasn't sensed him since only 9 years ago, but then why didn't he continue to hunt him down? Under any circumstances where Vader knows Obi-Wan's alive, he has that much hatred for him, he would find him and kill him. But it also makes the conversation between Vader and Tarkin in A New Hope really stupid. Vader tells Tarkin that Obi-Wan is here.
He is here.
Obi-Wan Kenobi? What makes you think so?
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
Tarkin responds with this.
Surely he must be dead by now.
Firstly, if the relationship between Tarkin and Vader is what we think it is, Tarkin should already know that they fought only 9 years ago. But let's say Vader didn't tell him. Why would he respond with this?
Don't underestimate the Force.
Wouldn't he say something more like, I fought him only 9 years ago, don't underestimate the power of the Force?
The Jedi are extinct. Their fire has gone out of the universe. You, my friend, are all that's left of their religion.
But under any circumstances, these two crossing blades again before A New Hope does damage in my opinion. We also have this line.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
If Vader is saying that he was but the learner the last time they met, that has to be Mustafar. There is also an amazing connection or bond between a master and an apprentice, but it would also take a fair bit of effort on Obi-Wan's behalf to hide himself and Luke. If Vader knows that Obi-Wan's alive 10 years after Mustafar and 9 years before A New Hope, he would stop at nothing to hunt him down and destroy him. Now, under no circumstances should Obi-Wan be making any decisions that affect his or Luke's survival. He shouldn't be helping the rebellion, Leia, or Bail. Under no circumstances should anyone know that he's still alive.
When Breha had comlinked him unexpectedly, Bail had come close to telling her to flee, fully prepared to suffer whatever consequences would descend on him. To ensure Leia's safety, he had even been ready to sacrifice Fangzar. Would Vader recognize Leia through the Force as his child? What would happen if he did? Would he compel Bail to reveal where Obi-Wan was, where Luke was? No. Bail would die first.
I think it's bad enough that Ezra knows that he's alive. I also think it's a really bad thing that Obi-Wan kills Maul in Rebels on Tatooine, because of the connection between Maul and Palpatine. Surely Palpatine felt that. Now, as most of you will know, it has already been announced that there's going to be an Inquisitor in this series. So let's say they don't fight, but Obi-Wan fights an Inquisitor. If Obi-Wan strikes him down, Vader knows a Jedi is alive and will stop at nothing to hunt down that Jedi. We know the Inquisitor can't win, so let's say it ends in a draw. The Inquisitor tells Vader that Obi-Wan's still alive, rendering all the dialogue in A New Hope completely fucking useless. The only way he could face an Inquisitor and get away with it is if he makes it look like an accident, crushing him and killing him under some rocks or something like that. Vader can't know that this Jedi is alive, and Obi-Wan can't risk anything for his life or Luke's. And once again, Vader has that much hate for Obi-Wan, he wouldn't wait 9 years and he wouldn't wait for Obi-Wan to come to him. There is one more factor I want to take a look at. One of the things I keep hearing is, what if it's a memory? Well, what a stupid fucking question. Let me answer that for you all with a question of my own. What memory could it possibly be? What memory of what fight could they possibly show that would be epic and wouldn't disappoint the fans? Yeah, they could do a flashback and show some awesome sparring sessions between Anakin and Obi-Wan with some awesome dialogue. But the only time they fought for real was on Mustafar. If they're going to show a memory of that, I'd rather just go back and re-watch Revenge of the Sith. Anyway, I think it's an understatement to say I've got a really bad feeling about this. Under no circumstances should Obi-Wan be detected, sensed, running off to save the galaxy, running off to help the rebellion, talking with Luke, Leia, Bail, or anyone else that could risk his or Luke's lives. Under no circumstances should he be fighting Vader, an Inquisitor, or the Empire. Every decision Obi-Wan makes should revolve around protecting Luke. If Vader knows he's alive, he will stop at nothing to kill him. This is why the Kenobi novel from the expanded universe is such a great story, because it's not a galaxy-level threat that he's trying to contend with. He's trying to contend with not being a Jedi while still being a Jedi, dealing with a small threat on Tatooine that's going to help Luke and him in the long run while in his exile. They also find a way to bring stakes to the table, all the while the reader knows that there are no real stakes for Obi-Wan. This story makes you care about the people around him, but at the same time you care about his struggle, but you want him to get stronger through that struggle. It's an amazing story and I highly recommend it. To me, this just feels like a nostalgia bait cash grab and a desperate attempt for Disney to try and get some of the old fans back. But as the great Marshall Lucas said, they don't get it.
Master, is Darth Vader Anakin? He asked after a moment. Yes. Although the Anakin you and I knew is imprisoned by the dark side. I was wrong to leave him on Mustafar. I should have made sure he was dead. The Force will determine Anakin's future. Obi-Wan, Luke must not be told that Vader is his father until the time is right. Should I take further steps to hide Luke? The core of Anakin that resides in Vader grasps that Tatooine is the source of nearly everything that causes him pain. Vader will never set foot on Tatooine, if only out of fear of reawakening Anakin. Obi-Wan exhaled in relief. Then my obligation is unchanged. But from what Yoda told me, I know that I have much to learn, Master. You were always that way, Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon's voice faded, and Obi-Wan's fears began to dissipate, replaced by renewed expectation. Returning to the dazzling light of Tatooine's twin suns, he caught up with Owen, Beru, and Luke, and kept silent watch over them for what remained of the day.